Hello everyone, and welcome to another segment of Balandeli Belanga. It's your host here, Ungozo Kokobi, Ungozo Ngagaza Kokobe. We're still talking about the river time and the war between the river time and the living spark, or the war between the no-thing and the spark, or the twin spiral vortices, as Dr. Walter Russell teaches. The twin vortices, one radiating. Yeah, today I'm going to use Khanya's old wheel from his old bicycle. So yes, that would be one spiral. Do you see the direction? And I also want to bring your attention to this as well, that we said now the center of the spiral does not move. It is the wheel, the spokes, and everything else with the rubber moving, but we said itong, or the dielectric, or itong, or the ether, or the heaven, or the state of mind before thought. That represents thought. But now in this case, thought would be from that still center, the two poles now doing what? Pulling away from each other. One, of course, radiating outwards, and the other one radiating inwards. Yeah. Twin spiral vortices pulling away from each other. The war between Osiris and Heru. The war between Jesus and Satan, or Set, or Isita. The war between, the war between the hero and the antagonist. We're still talking about that same principle. And now, to use an example used by Dr. Walter Russell in The Secret of Light, he says now, when the world of effects, now picture this to be your center, or the center, your still magnetic light, your centering soul that does not turn. The centering soul that does not turn, where all motion comes from, and everything returns back to that what? To that still center, when all motion has been what? Has been voided. When all motion has been voided, we return to that still center. And now, in the journey now of light from that still center to the noumenal planes, up until in the phenomenal planes, where now, if I may, I would say this is the physical. This would be the physical world, the rubber that gets worn out or edliwa by life or reality, or edliwa by the motion. And so the point where this spiral now touches the ground, we would make that out to be our contact in the world of senses. And so now that contact, out of this entire wheel, we would only give it, we would only give it that portion. The cycle between life and death, or the event being life, and the pause between the events, the pause being when all motion has been voided and you return back to the center before it starts again. Out of this entire wheel, we are only looking at that much. And this is one of the reasons why they teach that the material world is an illusion, because the world of senses, the world as we perceive it based on our five senses, it is only that portion. That breaking down of the 7-color spectrum, it's only here. Outside of this, it's still the happening, it's the infrared, and it's the ultraviolet, but we can't see it. We can't see it. Which is why it's very important that you do what? You do not make assumptions about the ground of being based on the world of effects or the world of matter, because it is an illusion. The rest of the work is happening. So now in that spiral, in that eightfold spiral from zero to maturity, or from a sphere forming until it reaches a symmetrical form, that would be the symmetrical form here. The sphere is formed. That is the harvest. And after if for example this was the apple, it reaches full manifestation here, and then the compression stroke would start again now. The compression stroke would start taking it back to Kwantu, ekhaya labangcwele, back to that stillness, back to that state, that still state before thought, before mind thinking, which begets these two poles pulling in opposite direction. And of course, when these two poles pulling in opposite direction intersect, when non-energy and non-matter, when they intersect, when the river time and the no-thing mate, what is born? The living spark. The living spark is born. And that is consciousness. Consciousness, awareness, or the first principle. And now I want to take it a bit further now. I want to take it a bit further. And say, as taught, like I said, where is my example? As I said here, that this would be the world of the seven senses, the world of the seven lights, seven chakras, what else? The seven stages of maturing. In the writings of Babu Mutwa, he also expresses this principle, but he now calls it the transmigration of the soul, where now those seven steps, or the soul, is first represented within those spheres as it's growing. There's this axiom in the mystery schools which says, and everything around us is either on its way to becoming human, or on its way moving from becoming human to become something else. And so the way Babu Mutwa breaks it down, he says we go through the 7 stages, or the 7 spheres, also illustrated or also taught through the knowledge of the 7 orbs that are nearest to us, the 7 orbitals that actually those are also portals that we go through. But again, these are what? These are stories giving us deeper aspects of metaphysical understanding and the unfolding of the physical world thereof. And so the first one would be the tree phase, then the grass phase at the roots, the grass phase, then the tree phase, then the beast phase, then we get to the human phase, then we go to the reptilian phase, the bird phase, and finally the stars, the highest of high, Sibuela Upi, at the star. And of course the stars representing the highest aspect or the highest attainment of human achievement, or the highest pinnacle of travel in these teachings. And not that it's literal, not that you will return to an actual star. What they're trying to tell you is that you will return here. You will return back to that still center. That is what they're trying to tell us. And so those are the different phases. Those are the different phases. If you like, you can ascribe, like I said, you can ascribe planets to it. You can ascribe the 7 planets to it, or you can even ascribe the 7 races to it. Where the reptilian phase you can give to the Draconians, and the bird phase, or you can give it to Jupiter, and you can give it to the bird people or the Pleiades, if you're into that type of mythology. And yeah, you can also break it down like that. But that's not where I am. What I am is I'm trying to get where I am. I'm trying to get to the science. I'm trying to get to the science of all this. And something else that I want to bring, because abalandeli belanga, we welcome everyone. We are trying to create a system of working where everything and anything is taken into one harmonized system of working, leaving nothing out, leaving no one out. We cannot keep imagining a future where there are certain parts of our society that we are living out of that future. We cannot. And so, what I would like to say to you is that now, these two principles, or this war between the river, the hotness and the cold, sometimes, even though mostly it materializes in sexed form. Like me, I'm male, inside male, I'm a male. But sometimes these two poles, Mother Nature or Man Nature, does decide to fully form these two poles in one vehicle or in one vessel. And so yes, I am speaking to my gay, lesbian friends, transvestites, the LBGIT community. And I want to actually say to us that yes, my nature, my nature from time to time does decide. If she, I don't know whether deciding is actually the right word to use, but my nature can and does give form to this aspect in one person. It can be the outer form is male, but the senses, the soul is receiving, they are what? They are female. So the sensory system is female, but the outer is what? Is male. Meaning the feminine aspect and the male aspect is either vibrating like that or it's almost at a balance. It's almost at a balance. As to why this happens, ultimately, I know we have a lot of theories going around out there, but ultimately, we can never know. We can never know because matter cannot penetrate cause. We can only speculate based on the world around us or the world of effects that we see around us. We can check the empirical data and make those conclusions. Maybe it's in the water. Maybe it's the genocide of the black man. Yes, maybe there's someone out there plotting to kill all the black males. Maybe it's the food. Maybe they're poisoning us through the food. Maybe it's the soy hormone. It's the soy hormone in the baby milk, and yet it is there. Those are realities, but we should never, even for an instant, be childish enough to believe that nature expressing her desire in a simulation of form does not do that. And to further think or make the assumption that we can undo her, we cannot. The known can only take you to the known, as the ancestor J. Krishnamurti taught us. The known can only lead you to the known. You can't work from the known to understand the unknown. To understand the unknown, you'd have to start with the unknown. No conditioning, no images, no symbols. You start with a clean slate, the unknown. And so what I'm trying to say is that ultimately, why these variations, why nature sometimes decides to have someone with both sex organs, why nature decides someone is going to be outside a female, reproductive organs, everything working, but the inside is sensing what? Is sensing males. Ultimately, we can never know. We can only try to interpret what we see around us, but ultimately, we can never know because no man can see the face of God, or no flesh can see the face of God, meaning No flesh can penetrate the what? The unknown. We only have what's available to the five senses. As to why my nature or the nate or the ground of being or whatever you're trying to call it, why it does that, ultimately we can never know. We can speculate, of course, we can speculate. And I would like to actually put it out there that out of all the summations that we've made, the genocide of the black man, the feminization of the black man, the food agenda or the food warfare, or if we were to address all of those conditions today, if we were to address those conditions today, that will not present or prevent my nature from doing what? From giving us this principle, because it comes out of her desire. It is from her desire to express form in that way. And so now we cannot take empirical data or what we see from the effects around us. Oh, another separation that maybe I should make before I continue. There's a difference between sexual preference and the idea of both polarities being represented or fully manifested in some cases in the same vehicle or in the same body. Sexual preference and these two polarities, they are not one and the same thing. Because I know a lot of us, the minute we hear about aboncugumbili, we're thinking, oh, the sex, oh, the abominable sex. No, it is not one and the same thing. Anyone can choose to explore their sexual desires in any way they see fit, outside of what I am trying to get to here, or the science that I'm trying to get to here. Humans, as free will human beings, we have that right, and no one should ever be in a position to make you feel ashamed about it. Unless, of course, there's people getting hurt in you expressing your sexuality. If there's someone getting hurt, then it becomes a problem. But other than that, so let us separate. That is not what I'm talking about. I am talking about that which is there before ideas around sex start forming. That which is there, the twin poles vibrating in one individual. So what I'm also trying to get to is that it actually doesn't matter where we think or where we think, yes, where we think or where we think it, where we know it comes from, because ultimately we cannot penetrate cause. We cannot penetrate cause. So instead of denigrating our brothers and sisters in that community, our gay friends, our lesbian friends, instead of isolating them, we need to broaden our horizons, guys. We need to broaden our horizons, because they are in full manifested form a representation of the war between the river time and the spark. And I would like to say we can actually learn from each other or teach each other. In the ascension game, in the journey of ascension, if you are male, for you to ascend, you have to do what? Raise your feminine aspect to match your what? To match your male energy. Then you will be able to ascend. Then your Ida and your, it's the Ida in one, Ida in Pangala nerves. Then they'll be both represented within that, within the schools of ascension. That is the goal, balancing these two aspects and then vibrating within that balance. And now my nature, because she's also a joker or a comedian, while we fervently try to do this, she says, here it is. Here it is, and puts it in front of you, and says, here it is. The form is man, but there's a feminine vibration also in there, fully represented. And she says, here it is, but we cannot learn from it. We cannot learn from it because of the social conditioning. The social conditioning based on taking allegorical scriptures and taking works of mythology and interpreting them literally. I know a lot of you, when I say this, are going to think, oh no, they are immoral, two men shall not lie together. I'm not talking about sexual preference. Slow down, I'm not talking about sexual preference. I'm talking about the twin polarities represented within one form or within one being. That is where I am. And I am saying, instead of fighting like we actually doing, we can learn from each other. What better way to learn the feminine aspect than from a person who has both these vibrations within them? This this patriarchal masculinity that in public we want to be these strong patriarchal fathers, and then behind closed doors we are squashing or we are belittling the feminine. It's not going to take us anywhere, because that's like trying to fight with one hand behind your tied behind your back on purpose. Tied behind your back on purpose. I'm not talking sexual preference. I'm talking about understanding these twin poles as the pillars of all the forms that we see around us. We can be learning from them. Husbands, have you ever wondered why our wives they naturally gravitate to these beings? We find a lot of women they will have male friends that are of that state. Whether they realize the importance of what they are or what they represent or not, that's a topic for another day. And the direction of schools or the training that is out there that they can go through, that's a topic for another day. Have you ever asked yourself why our females are so attracted to this? Because, or I would like to think, in its simplest form, the feminine recognizes the masculinity and the depth of the feminine energy there as well. The depth of the feminine energy that can intuit her at the depth of her feminine vibration. That is what our women crave. And I'm not. This is not me now trying to say we need to be soft or we need to be effeminate men. We need to be All I'm saying is balance. The feminine and the masculine needs to be what? It needs to be balanced. As a man, you can actually go and learn something from a lesbian sister on how to emulate or how to better work with the feminine aspect, because they are they are living it. They are a living reality of it. And we should never ever think that if we deal with all our preconceived ideas that no, if the system becomes right, if all our children are adopted by black families, if all the rape ends, if the rape, the abuse, if it all ends, then this thing will end. It won't. It won't, because it's older than us. It's older than our clash with, or our meeting with coloniality. It's much older than that. And because Africans by nature, we are not what we have now. By nature, we are not deniers of reality. By nature, we are not deniers of reality. That is why you will find among African society, especially among the spiritual leaders, there would also be this, I don't want to say subgroup, or a group, or a space that is afforded a certain type of vibration, where individuals are of that nature. They vibrate at that aspect where the masculine, the feminine is what is vibrating equally. There would be offices that they would fulfill, especially among holding the energies between the physical and the spiritual, or being guardians of the gateways thereof, or of those portals, because they are vibrating on both these aspects. Sometimes it will be warriors. It can be a man who has a family. They still keep to their cultural what's expected from them as as someone who's in the form of a man. They can have families, they can have children, and they would also have this office now, where now this thing that is natural to them is being used, or is being trained on what it means. And so now these are now the orders of our secret societies, where they would keep that type of information. So I'm just giving you that basic outlay. Have you ever wondered why there's so many people or of that vibration betwasa? If you go to Ikole Ningi around our communities, you will find people of that nature because of that principle vibrating within them. Not the sexual preference. Please put that one there, because we are all capable of that sexual preference. We are all capable of it. But we are not all capable of being born having both those vibrations at play. We are not. We can raise that energy, but so there's their inclination to the ways of the right hemisphere, or the Holy of Holies. Their inclination into that world they have more of a grip on it. And instead of denigrating them, judging them, and killing them, and doing all the things we are doing, they could be a bridge for us. They are actually a bridge. They can be our teachers of how to balance these two poles. And I'd like to believe, if you're going to judge people, if you're going to denigrate people based on sexual preference, you should be able to applaud them. You should be able to applaud them as well for their inputs to society. If you're going to judge them on this side, if you're going to judge someone because they have these twin poles within them, you should also be able to. You should also be able to. Sorry about that. You should also be able to applaud them or accolade them for their inputs to society. They are a part of us, Bafethu. We cannot take them siobalahla somewhere. They are us. They are a part of us. They are our brothers. They are our mothers. They are our sisters. We cannot envision any future without them, because we did not put them here. It is not our ideas that put them here. The reality of them being in this space is much older. Is much older. If you want to go into the writings of Ubaba Mutwa, it's actually one of his videos where he's talking about now remember when you go through the seven phases, he says humanity once went through a phase where the sex was not expressed outside, but it was it was within, meaning we once were in that state where our sexual organs were not formed yet, but we were operating, or we were living as abonqukumbili. As to the meanings of what that actually means, the deeper meanings, it was just an example that I'm trying to use from one of the stories told by Ubaba Mutwa, of which the Western society, they have these stories as well. The theory of the seven races. The seven races. I call it a theory because they tell it like it reads like a fairy tale. It reads like a fairy tale. It's not something that you can conclusively prove, but I'm not there for that. I'm there for the ideas, the commonality, the symbols where they are the same. That is what we are there for, abalandeli belang. As for the arguments that there were the seven races, or we've never been, like, I'm just here for the lessons that can do what? That can formulate the whole. The symbols that we can use to take everything around us, everything we know, and do what? And put it into a concise reckoning of oneness. And so, yeah, I think that's all I had for you today. Yes, we're still going deeper into the war between the twin poles, the war between River Time and the No-THiNG, or the mating of the deep waters of the deep with and the Spirit of God, if you want to take it from the Bible version. This story has many stories. There's only one story. there's only one thing to study in the universe. That's the atom or the atom. There's nothing else to study. All is a two. All is one and one is all. Thank you for listening, guys. Ungala nabalandeli belanga, and please don't forget to subscribe to our page and check us out on Facebook as well. It's capital N, G, and small letter A. Thank you.